Hi, once again, this is Coralla at CorallaFicklin.com. Welcome, excuse me, .com, welcomenetwork.com, and I'll give you a new name. We've had this name for a while, but I just haven't mentioned it. Pedience.com. Now, at Pedience.com, that's where I have all my writings. I've written quite a bit about a lot of things about the English language. I've written a number of books, or maybe I shouldn't say. Well, I've written books and I've compiled. Do you know what I mean? I've gone and I've done research on certain aspects of the English language. I've written a little bit about that aspect of the language, and then compiled either expressions or words or whatever, in order to demonstrate what I've written. I have quite a bit of work on metaphorical English. That's the part of English. If you're looking at English from that particular aspect, I really like to examine a language metaphorically, figuratively. I think it's one of the most difficult aspects of language to comprehend, because I think it's so connected to the culture. So metaphorical English in United States and the United Kingdom, to a certain extent, is the same, because there's certain expressions that are similar. I mean, that we have in common. But there's a lot of things that they say in the UK or in Australia that an American wouldn't understand. So I like to look at that. So if you're interested in reading about metaphorical English, check out Pedience.com. Also, I've written and I've written and compiled. I've written about affixes, suffixes, prefixes, roots. Now, I mean, you really don't write about them. Talked a little bit about them, the importance they have in the English language, and then I've compiled. It's quite extensive. I'm not going to say they're all the prefixes, suffixes, and roots of the English language, but it's quite extensive, because I didn't just research in the general dictionaries, whether I'm talking about Oxford or Webster. I also, and this is one good place I love to look, because I like reading dictionaries, medical dictionaries. Excellent resource for prefixes and roots. Excellent resources. An excellent place to see how those prefixes and suffixes and roots are played out in very complicated, well, not complicated, different words, because, you know, medical terms are different than everyday English, but you can see how they have taken all these different affixes, prefixes, roots, put them together and make a word. And basically they're saying the person has a stomach ache, but when you see it, you wouldn't recognize it, because they don't use the Germanic part of the language to describe the body. They use the Latin or Greek words to describe the body. Excellent, excellent. Also, if you're interested in getting in one book all the different levels of the English language, it's called The Top, the Bottom, and a lot of the middle. And so in one book, and I do all the A's and I do all the B's. I'm going to do the whole series. I'm going to do all A's, all B's, C's, D's, E's, and all of them, all the letters, in which in one book you get to see words which represent the standard area of the English language, the more elite words of the English language, words that you don't normally get to see, the affixes, that is the roots or the suffixes or prefixes that begin with A, in the English language. Also, when you get the standard words, the synonyms you get are divided into a number of categories. So when a word is defined, and if you can use synonyms, I will tell you whether the synonym is standard, idiomatic, part of the elite or refined area of the English language. I will also give you informal, and frankly, I'll give you vulgar synonyms if it applies, because all of that is English. Also, you won't only be getting American English, you'll also be getting British English. And when I say British, I'm including the English that's spoken by the Brits, the English, the Scots, the Irish, also Australian, and if I can get it, Jamaican, South African, okay? Because all of that is English, all of that's the English language. Let's see. The book that I wrote on the body, looking at the body metaphorically, I think is very interesting. It's broken up into different parts. So I look at different body parts and how they're used idiomatically and how they're used metaphorically. I've already told you about the affixes, a book on all the different, I should say an extensive look at. I can't guarantee you that they're all the affixes, but it's quite extensive. Including in, I also do short papers, and one of the short papers that I've done, I try to gather up all the Cockney rhyming slang that's spoken in the UK and in Australia. It's really a freaky area of English that, frankly, is completely Greek to me. Completely Greek. So check it out, pedience.com. But right now, what I want to look at, with the little bit of time I have left, I'll probably have to go to the next video, is to look at the difference between someone going from English to Spanish versus someone going from Spanish to English. And right now, I'm talking about mis paisanos que hablan inglés, and someone speaking English going to Spanish, and how certain things that may not appear to be important because it doesn't exist in our language is very important in Spanish, and we can't ignore it. And it seems that both of us, whether you're going from Spanish to English or English to Spanish, you know, we have to open up parts of our brain that haven't been forced open because our language doesn't force it open. And we have to learn to look at the world differently, because when we speak another language, a language which is not our own, I think it forces us to look at things differently. So when I come back, I'm going to look at some things that an English speaker has to see or has to take in consideration when they're learning Spanish that they don't have to take in consideration when they speak their own language. So once again, this is Kerala at KeralaFicklin.com, WelcomeNetwork.com, Welcome.com, and check out my writings. All the books that I've written you can get at pedience.com, and they're all free. All right, and they're there to help you to learn English. And by the way, they're not just for people who are coming from a foreign language to English. It's also for native speakers, let's say, of one type of English that want to learn, a native speaker that wants to learn maybe another version of English. All right, KeralaFicklin.com.